This is my first video update for Monday morning, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's walk a little bit. Let's take a walk around Nicosia and talk about the news. Let me cross over here. We'll head into the parking lot of TGI Fridays. Is TGI Fridays still around in the US? Or anywhere else in the world? It's pretty popular here in Cyprus. TGI Fridays. Where every day it's a Friday. Let me show it to everybody. There it is. TGI's. All right. Let's, got some nice shade here. Make sure it's clean. We'll sit down for a few minutes so we can talk about what happened in Italy. Elections in Italy yesterday, and we got the results. The Brothers Party, Meloni makes history. She becomes the first woman prime minister of Italy, or it looks like she's going to be the first woman prime minister of Italy. And even more historic is the fact that you will most likely have a conservative right government in power in Italy. Let me get some of the results out there, some of the numbers as to what's going on with regards to the big elections in Italy. And let me read you from, where should I read you from? Zero Hedge. Let's see what Zero Hedge has to say with regards to the elections. Meloni's right-wing alliance wins clear majority in Italian elections. First Sweden, now Italy. That is according to Zero Hedge. The Zelensky curse. The Zelensky curse. Draghi bolted. He left. He knew what was coming in Europe. He was the former ECB head. He knows the economic collapse is on its way, and Draghi said, I'm out. I'm leaving. And so you had elections in Italy. First Sweden, now Italy. Europe's unelected authoritarian ruler, Ursula von der Leyen, is not going to be happy, according to early exit polls out of Italy's national election. The right-wing bloc of Giorgia Meloni, which the ultra-left-wing press just can't stop comparing to Mussolini, is set for a historic, if largely expected, victory and a clear majority. If, however, not a supermajority, which will propel Meloni to the top of the Italian government as the country's next prime minister, ushering in a historic right-wing shift for a country that, like Sweden until 2 weeks ago, has traditionally been very left-wing. Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, which won just 4% of the vote during the last national election in 2018, won the biggest share of the vote in Sunday's parliamentary elections, with around 22.5 to 26.5% of the vote, according to an exit poll released by Italian national broadcaster Rai. She is now set to become prime minister, but would require approval from junior partners in her coalition to assume the role. According to an exit poll from Rai, Meloni's alliance, which includes Salvini's League and Berlusconi's Forza Italia, will win around 43% of the vote. The center-left alliance will have just 25.5 to 29.5% of the vote, while the Five Star Movement has 13.5 to 17.5% of the final vote. Italy's electoral system, which strongly favors parties that run as part of a coalition, is expected to help the right to an ample majority in both houses of parliament, with 228 votes in the lower house and 115 seats in the Senate, according to Sky TG24. Meloni will have a majority, as just 104 votes are required. As the Wall Street Journal notes, the Italian election is the first big test of the European Union's political cohesion as it confronts Russia's attempt to redraw the continent's post-Cold War order. Russian President Vladimir Putin's restriction of natural gas delivery has sparked an energy price crunch that, combined with other inflationary pressures, is expected to push much of Europe into recession this winter. Meloni replaces former Goldman Sachs partner and ECB technocrat and globalist Mario Draghi, and will be the country's first female prime minister. So that is the big news coming out of Italy. Let's see what else Zero Hedge says here. One sec. Italy's massive debt of roughly 150% of GDP, combined with Italy's weak long-term growth record, makes the country vulnerable to bond market sell-offs if investors lose confidence in the soundness of Rome's fiscal policies, and dependent on the European Central Bank to keep its bond yield stable. ECB support has typically been conditional on Rome following cautious budget policies and enacting economic overhauls aimed at improving growth. In other words, the Berlusconi example of 2011 is still vivid. If Meloni's policies displease the ECB, Christine Lagarde will simply refuse or forget to buy Italian bonds, sparking Europe's next sovereign debt crisis at the worst possible moment. Yeah, so Italy is in an interesting position. Very interesting position. On the one side, one would expect Meloni to give Orban a call and to say, you know what, let's shake up the EU a bit. Let's push to get rid of Von der Crazy, Michel, Borrell. Let's roll back some of these crazy sanctions. Let's start to tone down our bellicose rhetoric towards Russia, and hopefully let's get the EU out of this energy crisis, this energy mess that the EU has put itself in. That Van der Crazy and her policy and her sanctions, they're the ones that have placed the European Union in this energy economic crisis. One would expect Meloni and her coalition, especially with people like Berlusconi in government, or perhaps in government, one would expect that would be a move that Meloni makes. But given the fact that, unlike Hungary and unlike Orban, Italy uses the euro and is dependent on Lagarde and the ECB, it's going to be really, really tough going for Italy. Really tough going. Once you're locked into the euro fiat, that means that all of your fiscal sovereignty is ceded to Brussels and to kleptocrats and technocrats like Lagarde at the ECB. So if you step out of line, as Zero Hedge points out, the ECB could say, well, we're not going to help out. We're just going to stop supporting you, Italy. And then what do you do? What do you do when the ECB says we're not going to fill your ATM machines with euro fiat? I've seen it happen. I saw it happen in Cyprus, and I saw it happen in Greece. When the Greek government tried to step out of line, just a little bit, they tried to define the EU and the ECB. You want to know what I think it was Draghi, actually. You want to know what Draghi did? He just cut off Greece's access to euros. That's simple. So I remember the Greeks would be like lining up at the ATMs to get whatever cash they could out, because the ECB said, no euros for you, Greece. That was it. And so it's going to be very difficult for Meloni and the brothers to challenge the EU. But on the flip side, they have Orban there. He's an ally. That's someone that can help Meloni navigate the pressures of the EU. Italy is a big country. It's a powerful country. It's one of the big three, if you're looking at the European Union: Germany, France, Italy. And so Italy does have a lot of say as to the direction that the European Union goes. So while it's going to be tough for Meloni, given the restrictions that she faces vis-a-vis the euro currency and the ECB, it is Italy, it is a major economy, it is a major power in the European Union, and it does have an ally in Hungary. So here we go. Here we go. We are going to start to see a lot of interesting moves being made at the European Union. Either Meloni is going to be a game changer, or she's going to fold. She's going to fold in line. And if she folds in line, well, then she probably won't stay in power for too long, because the Italians are obviously sending a message. The voters are sending a very clear message. They want a solution to these problems. And Meloni's going to have to deliver, so we'll see. Let's leave it there. We don't really know until they begin to govern. But, I think Berlusconi, I think that he's more of a game changer than Meloni, to be quite honest. I think Berlusconi is someone who has a ton of experience, not only in Italian politics, but in business as well. I mean, he's a very successful billionaire businessman. And he's someone that has a relationship with Putin. He's worked with Russia and Putin in the past. He's someone that, in my opinion, has nothing to lose. Right? They've gone after Berlusconi for God knows how long. They've gone after him, and they've tried to ruin him, the globalist powers that be. And he's survived. He's a survivor. So I think if anyone's going to be able to really provide pressure on the EU, it's Berlusconi. He could be a game changer. Meloni, we're gonna have to wait and see how she governs. I really have my doubts as to how much change she can affect, given the fact that Italy is constrained by the euro fiat. That's going to make things very, very difficult. So we'll leave it there with regards to Italy. Let's now shift gears and talk about, well, let's do an update with the referendum. Let's see where we are there, because we have some more numbers with regards to the turnout of the referendum. And let me pull up those numbers. As of the third day of voting at the referenda, I say referendum, that's wrong. The referendums, that's wrong. It's referenda. The third day of the referenda, we have the turnout as Kherson, 48.91%, Zaporozhye, 51.55%, Donetsk, 77.12%, and Lugansk, 76.09%. That is the turnout as of the third day. I think everything wraps up on the 27th. So we have another day or two. But it looks like all the regions will easily get over the 50% mark. I think they need over 50% so that the results are valid. I believe that's the case. But don't take that to the bank. I believe that is the case, though. 50 plus is what's needed. So let's see here. One of the election observers, according to Bild, Stephen Schaller, he's a German observer at the referendum. And he's also a managing director for an energy company in Germany, though I'm not sure which energy company. But according to Bild, because he decided to be an observer in these referendums, it looks like he's going to lose his job. Wow. He's out. just because he decided to be an observer. That's crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. Oh boy. Let's see. The nuclear issue with regards to Russia. Jake Sullivan, he came out during a statement to the press the other day, and actually from an article as well from the, I want to say the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times. Let me see if I know which publication this appeared in, or maybe the New York Times, citing anonymous sources and then citing Jake Sullivan. CBS, I was way off. CBS. Jake Sullivan told CBS on Sunday that any use of nuclear weapons will be met with catastrophic consequences for Russia. Sullivan said on CBS's Face the Nation, explaining that the Biden administration had told Moscow both privately at very high levels and publicly that the United States and our allies will respond decisively if Russia uses nuclear weapons. So yesterday on CBS as well, on, one second, I can cross real quick. All right. On 60 Minutes, Anthony Blinken, he echoed what Sullivan stated to Face the Nation. And Blinken, he said that the U.S. has a plan should Russia use nuclear weapons. And of course, he said that the consequences for Russia would be devastating. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden has a plan for reacting to the hypothetical use of nuclear arms by Russia, but will not reveal its details. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said, if Russia were to use atomic weapons on the battlefield, the consequences would be horrific, and we've made that very clear, Blinken said in an interview with 60 Minutes program on CBS on Sunday. He said the message has been communicated to the Russian leadership publicly and privately. Quote, I'm not going to get into what the consequences would be. Any use of nuclear weapons would have catastrophic effects for, of course, the country using them, but for many others as well, Blinken warned. So we have Sullivan, Blinken. We have much of the collective West media, much of collective West politicians. They've really grabbed on to the nuclear weapon segments of Putin's speech, a segment that never was, to be quite honest. There was never a specific reference to the use, a specific statement that Russia is going to use nuclear weapons. That was not what Putin said in his speech. But the collective West, they've really jumped on to this narrative, and they're really running with it. And I ask myself, why? Why have they honed in on this one part of the speech? Let me know in the comments down below why you think they're so hyper-focused on this one segment from Putin's 14-minute speech that he gave the other day, where he announced partial mobilization. I tend to believe that this is either just a lot of posturing and fear-mongering and huffing and puffing, maybe, or this is projection. This could be perhaps, we're at the Cyprus Museum. All right. So, or this is pure projection, because the collective West is thinking of doing something with regards to these types of weapons or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here as we're walking. I'm just trying to figure out why are they so hyper focused on this one statement? Anyway, let me read you. Actually, one second. Yeah, let me read you what exactly Putin said, just so we can be clear as to the exact words of Putin during his speech. When he referenced weapons, it was towards the end of his speech. It was actually the last 2-3 paragraphs, and let me read it for you, just so there's no misunderstanding. And you be the judge. Is the Russian president threatening the collective West, Ukraine, with nuclear weapons or not? Is that what he is saying in the last 2-3 paragraphs of his speech that he gave the other day? You be the judge, because according to Blinken and Sullivan, that is exactly what Russia is doing and saying. They are saying that they are going to use nuclear weapons, or they could use nuclear weapons, and they're saying that if Russia were to use nuclear weapons, well, then the retaliation would be devastating. But here is exactly, let me sit down here. Here is exactly what Putin said. And this is towards the end of his speech. They have even resorted to the nuclear blackmail. I am referring not only to the Western encouraged shelling of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, which poses a threat of a nuclear disaster, but also to the statements made by some high-ranking representatives of the leading NATO countries on the possibility and admissibility of using weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, against Russia. I would like to remind those who make such statements regarding Russia that our country has different types of weapons as well, and some of them are more modern than the weapons NATO countries have. In the event of a threat to the territorial integrity of our country, and to defend Russia and our people, we will certainly make use of all weapon systems available to us. This is not a bluff. The citizens of Russia can rest assured that the territorial integrity of our motherland, our independence and freedom, will be defended, I repeat, by all the systems available to us. Those who are using nuclear blackmail against us should know that the wind rose can turn around. It is our historical tradition and the destiny of our nation to stop those who are keen on global domination and threaten to split up and enslave our motherland. Rest assured that we will do it this time as well. Okay, so that was the end of his speech. That was it. That is exactly what Putin said, and these 2-3 paragraphs are the part of his speech that Blinken and Sullivan and everyone else is saying that Russia has declared that they will use nuclear weapons. It's these 2-3 paragraphs that they're honing in on, that they're harping on, which they say is proof to the fact that Russia is threatening Ukraine and the collective West with nuclear weapons. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. When I read this, in my opinion, when I read these 2-3 paragraphs, I see it as Putin basically just reiterating what Russia's official nuclear stance is, as provided by their security doctrine. I mean, these are documents that are freely available to everyone, which is that Russia will retaliate if it is attacked. That's pretty much what Russia's security doctrine states. And with reference to nuclear weapons, I believe that the doctrine states that Russia will only use nuclear weapons if those weapons are used against the Russian Federation, or these types of mass destruction weapons are used against the Russian Federation. I mean, I see Putin basically saying, if the collective West attacks us, we have the means to retaliate back. That's what I got from this statement. And I'm reading it to everybody. This is a quote from the speech, because what happens is that you get a statement, a speech, a CCTV video, like what I talked about yesterday, something like that, and it's published, it's public, we see it, we read it, but then, social media and other statements from other officials, they distort it or they run away with it, and before you know it, you have a whole different narrative, a whole different reality or truth that is formed. And so I just want to make sure that we get back to the original words from the original source, and then we can all make up our own minds as to what the Russian president is saying here, and not be. I was going to say manipulated, and not be. I can't think of a word. I can't think of the right word, so I am going to say manipulated, and not be manipulated by what other people are saying Putin said, when we have the exact words, the exact quote in front of us. It's like that game of telephone. I don't know if you know that game of telephone that maybe you played when you were a kid, or something like that, where someone whispers something to someone, and then that person whispers what that first person said to another person, and it just kind of goes all around in a circle. And by the time it gets back to the original source, that person who said that statement, it's completely something different. I remember that game when I was young. Our teachers used to make us play that game to teach us a lesson, and the lesson was that someone says something, but by the time it goes all the way around and gets back to you, it's a completely different statement. Anyway. With that being said, should I move on to a clown world? So you have a lot of talk about nuclear weapons now, and I don't know which way I'm leaning towards. Is this just a lot of huff and puff and fear mongering, or is this some sort of projection from the collective West saying, okay, we're all in, we're gonna go all in on this conflict in Ukraine? I'm not sure what it is, but in the next couple of days we might find out, because the referendums are going to end. These territories are going to become part of the Russian Federation, and I believe that Ukraine is going to get the order from NATO and from the Biden White House to continue its military action against these territories. And then Russia's going to respond. And then the escalation is going to start to climb, I imagine. We'll find out in a few days. Let's do a clown world. Let's wrap this up and do a clown world. I'm just seeing if I have any other big stories. The U.S. is facing a natural gas shortage. We've been talking about this. Is according to Reuters. We've been talking about this on the Duran for a while now. That Ursula von der Crazy, her lie that she said 2-3 months ago that all of Europe's gas needs are going to be met by U.S. LNG, a complete lie. A complete lie. And she was talking about that 3-4 months ago. That is not the case. We called it out in the Duran that the U.S. doesn't have the ability to fulfill all of Europe, all of the EU's gas needs with U.S. LNG, and now we are actually getting statements from gas producers, gas companies in the U.S. that they can't do it. They can't. Not only can they not fulfill the EU's gas needs, but they're now sounding the alarm bells that the U.S. is running short of natural gas. Shale producers in the United States are struggling to meet growing domestic and international gas demand, according to an analysis by Reuters. The report concluded that a hotter than expected summer and a lack of alternative energy sources have left the nation's inventories below the seasonal average. It added that there were no signs of improvement in the level of inventories despite the rise in gas prices. The latest data showed that the Permian Shale Basin, which contributes some 12% of U.S. total gas output, and rig count in the Permian has been down for 2 weeks in a row. Less drilling means less associated gas to add to the national total, the news outlet reported. While American energy companies have been exporting liquefied natural gas to Europe at record rates, calls have emerged lately to reduce those supplies to make sure there is enough for the U.S. market. Quote, with heating season around the corner in both Europe and the United States, and with a lot of people in both places using gas for heating, the price outlook for gas does not look good from a consumer's perspective, Reuters wrote. The report noted that it is unlikely U.S. gas prices will climb anywhere near European levels, but they are up by a whopping 300% from a few years ago when gas was cheap because it was abundant. There's no relief in sight for the EU. If Meloni and Italy, together with Hungary, maybe together with some other countries that can find the courage, if they can get together and they can find a way to just call Russia up and say, look, we effed up, we screwed things up, let's figure out a way out of this, we're going to roll back the sanctions. If they can do this, maybe there's some hope. Maybe. It's a long shot. I doubt it because I think Russia's moved on, but maybe, just maybe, there's a way out of this. But time is really running out. Maybe there's a 2-3 week window, if that. One thing that Meloni and Orban should do, once again, if they can find the courage to do it, if they can find the courage and the means to do it, they should find a way to remove Ursula, Michelle, and Borrell. This should be like priority number one for them. Just a thought. Let's do some clown world stories, and I've got a couple here. The first clown world, since we're on the subject of energy and gas, comes from St. Petersburg, and this is according to RIA Novosti. It looks like St. Petersburg is, this is an incredible story, is going to be heating the pavement this winter. This is a pilot project to keep the streets of St. Petersburg ice-free. So as Europe is struggling to figure out ways to heat homes and to keep businesses and factories running, St. Petersburg is going to put together a pilot project to heat the streets in order to keep the streets ice-free. Unfreaking believable. You know they're just trolling the EU, right? I mean, that's what they're doing right there. Unbelievable. No comment. No comment. We have in Russia going along the same types of trolling lines here. We had someone in Russia, from what I understand, they were streaming on Twitch 24 hours a day. They were streaming their gas stove, like running as on 24 hours a day. From what I understand, this account was then blocked by Twitch, was canceled by Twitch, but then it was because it violated rules. But then, from what I understand, another guy the same guy was then allowed back on. I'm not sure what happened, if he was canceled and allowed back on, or if he hasn't been allowed back on because he was violating the rules. Anyway, what he was doing was that he was trolling the European Union and saying, well, here's my gas stove running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we have no problem with gas. And then we have another story that there was a guy in Russia, and I think this channel is still running, or this was also blocked by Twitch. I have no clue. I have no clue if these accounts have been canceled or if they're still running. But these two clown worlds were sent to me by a viewer. But this guy, he was this one's pretty creative. He was streaming his bathtub running 24/7 with like a little rubber ducky in the bathtub, and he was streaming the hot water going into this bathtub 24/7. In other words, we've got hot water in Russia. Here's my bathtub with the little rubber ducky running 24/7. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. I think it's crazy that these accounts were canceled. Why would you cancel them? Doesn't make any sense. These don't seem like these are really policy violations on Twitch. The fact that I had my stove running or my bathtub running, that's why you cancel an account. That's pretty harsh. So I guess this is the theater here in Nicosia. Right here. And you can see Zorbas, Todoraki. Zorbas. 12 euros a ticket. 1 hour and 30-minute show. Very nice. It's a nice theater, actually. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good. All right. I will leave it there. That's the clown world. That's the news. The Duran.locals.com, coming to you from downtown Nicosia, Cyprus. If you ever make your way towards Nicosia, you can catch a show right here at this beautiful building, this beautiful theater in back of me. The Duran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code Good Day. Take care.